Continuing to bust these videos out for you guys. Welcome on in to my defensive line rankings. Today, we're going to continue with this. After this video, we have linebacker and safety left, and then we're all done ranking for the 2026 NFL Draft, and it's on to the 2027 NFL Draft, which should be very, very exciting. Can't wait for that. And yeah, let's get into my number 10 guy, who, actually, if we're talking post-draft, he was actually undrafted and has still not been picked up by a team, which is really surprising to me because there's no doubt in my mind he is a top 10 defensive lineman, man. That is Dante Corleone, Cincinnati. A very fun option if you're looking for a zero tech / like a one tech nose tackle who can be mainly an anchor piece. Now, some of the reasons why he wasn't drafted I will end up listing on here, but he has some traits that teams should have taken. This is a guy last year that was projected to be somewhere near a second to maybe a late first round pick. 21 years old, 3 years of experience, plenty young, draft value of round 7, so I do see why he became a UDFA. But even the Eagles selecting Uad Bernard, I was a fan of the pick. I thought it was fun taking a player who has really good upside and such, just because of his physicals and stuff like that, and the measurables, his height, weight, all of that. But then it's like Dante Corleone is there as well, and he's actually played professional football before. So I was like, all right, I see the vision, but I was like, all right, at the same time, you know, Corleone's there, and nobody picked him up. I would have expected a team like Minnesota to pick him up, or the Eagles I could have seen drafting him, or maybe the 49ers. They instead went with, what's his name? We'll get to him. He's later on in this video. I'm blanking on the name, but the Oklahoma defensive lineman, they ended up picking him. So, but still, measurables, I can see why teams wouldn't really want to pick him. Obviously, he's a pass rusher. He's not going to be fast, but still, the 6'1", 320, he could be a bit bigger, like taller, and then for the weight is pretty good for his weight to height ratio. 32-inch arms, would expect those to be a little bit bigger for a defensive lineman. So, and the pro comp is Jordan Davis light. Obviously not on the same level of Jordan Davis, but we're talking about a guy that's a little bit smaller and bigger, a little bit less fast than the Jordan Davis type. But yet again, exciting player with some interesting traits. A low floor at 60 overall with a decent overall ceiling at 78. D plus for the speed, C minus for the excel, D for the agility. He's not a very fast defensive tackle, no questions about it. But the A strength is playing above where you would expect. The 320 pounds that he comes in makes sense right there. Then you talk about the rushing skills. C minus pass rushing, that might be where people ended up getting him, like being like, all right, I don't really want to end up drafting a player like this because he can't pass rush. But still, at the same time, it's like his take-on ability and such, and the penetration overall that he has is very solid. So, like, I mean, you take the good with the bad at this point, but he's more of a run defending guy. He's not a guy that's going to pass rush and get you sacks, but he's going to be important on run defense. He's going to be important to be a gap in, like, basically people are going to want to double team Dante Corleone because if not, he's going to rip right through you with his weight. Like, albeit the pass rushing skills and the finesse moveset isn't there, he still has a great power moveset, so he's able to anchor himself very well, then use his power to be able to push past guys. So he doesn't really need pass rushing skills. He's just a big ass dude. He's 6'1", so he's a little shorter, but he's a big ass dude. And I would easily have taken a 7th, 6th round pick, maybe a late 6th round pick, and just take a flyer on a guy like him. I'm surprised he hasn't been signed yet. There's been talks about the New York Giants selecting him or him going to the hometown Cincinnati Bengals. I would like either of those to happen. This is a very talented player who, albeit, you know, right now is closer to that floor, easily if he reaches that ceiling. This is a nice second defensive lineman who can play the O-Tech, play the 1-Tech, and be a starting nose tackle in the league, even if he's kind of your second option. So, but the take-on ability is very nice, the anchor is nice, the run defense is solid, penetration can be worked on, and overall rushing skills can be worked on. The athletic tools can't do much about, and it's okay, because he's a defensive lineman. He's a big-ass defensive lineman. He's not going to be fast. He's not going to have crazy agility. But I really do like Dante Corleone. I don't care that he went undrafted. I'm still a big fan of his. I would even throw the stud icon next to him. I just forgot to add that. But yeah, he is very fun as we head on to our number 9 option, who was actually drafted by the Baltimore Ravens, who I think really had an awesome draft. They kind of picked some of their my guys in the draft, and albeit like I wasn't really high on Adam Randall, the running back out of Clemson. Really fun option for them to be able to pick. They pick Rayshon Benny. They grab Olavide Yoon. My draft rankings for all the teams are coming out soon, just going through, grading each pick, and then giving them a final grade. So that is coming out soon, but for now, we will continue to talk about these guys. Very nice pickup by the Ravens, getting Rayshon Benny. Very fun. 6'3", 296, 33-inch arms, so a little bit smaller than your prototypical kind of defensive lineman, but still, 6'3", a little bit better than we looked at with 6'1", a little bit smaller, 296, still pretty good size, 23 years old, 4 years of experience, all at Michigan, I do believe. Round 6 to 7, I think he went in round 6, so nice value there by the Ravens. Plays the role of a 3-tech / 4-eye rotational, more of a run-first type of guy. But you look at a player like him, he's like decently levels better than looking at Dante Corleone if you're talking about a well-rounded athlete mixed with a run defender. If you're talking about pass rush, then they're both pretty bad at pass rush. These are two bigger dudes that are just basically going to run stuff for you. That's what it comes down to. His speed is a little bit quicker with a C-, C excel, C- agility, so he's a little bit faster. Makes sense with the about 30 pounds lighter than Corleone. A- for the strength, that's good, that matches up. D+ for the pass rushing, so he's not the best pass rusher in the world, as I said before. D for the finesse moveset. C+ for the power moveset and the get-off. The rushing skills can be worked on, but at the same time, I said he's a run defender, and that is where he excels with his run defense, strength, and the take-on ability, the run defense grade itself, anchor, and penetration. The penetration is only going to continue to get better, I do believe, and then he can still work on some things. And even the traits of a C-, a C, and a C- for the speed, excel, and agility, that's completely fine for a defensive tackle. I'd take that all day. Rayshon Benny, 63 overall impact grade with a 6.30 overall grade for me, 80 potential grade. I feel like this is very much a starter in the league. Give him several years with the Ravens, and I feel like he'll be right there with Justin Madubuike, who changed his name to Nnamdi Madubuike, and Travis Jones, who they drafted out of UConn several years ago. I think he can rotate in there, and the 4-eye rotational makes sense. That's why they ended up picking him. 3-tech as well makes sense. They want to kind of throw him in for downs there if Jones is struggling out there. And then Nnamdi Madubuike hasn't been the same player since what's his name ended up leaving. McDaniel, no. Yes, no. Mike McDonald ended up leaving. Well, I was about to say Mike McDaniel. No, Mike McDonald ended up leaving to go to Seattle, and that's the year prior was when the Ravens' defense was looking incredible with him at the helm. So that's the last time we really saw a lot out of Madubuike. But Rayshon Benny, they got Jesse Minter in there now. Very excited to see what he's able to do. Given the pro comp of Maurice Hurst, a starting caliber defensive lineman who was solid for several years in the league. As we move on to my number 8, Dominique Orange, drafted by the Minnesota Vikings. A very fun player who I was thinking about moving up a little bit more, but there was a couple of defensive linemen I did like a bit better. The one I was talking about earlier was Grayson Holton. He was one that I really did like in this class. The 49ers selected him. So 6'3", 325 pounds with 33-inch arms. Dominique Orange, Iowa State. Another Iowa State player. We've seen in several years past that some of these late-round Iowa State players can actually turn out to be really great players, including Brock Purdy and Breece Hall, and several others that we've seen, including the 2 receivers that came out last year, I do believe it was. They both went to Houston. Jalen Noel and the other one I'm forgetting his name, but these Iowa State kind of mid to late-round players are usually pretty underrated talents. So, excited to see what Dominique Orange is going to bring alongside Caleb Banks to that defensive line room for the Vikings. Should be pretty fun. Replacements for Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave. But, looking at his draft value, given rounds 5 to 6, I do believe he went around the 6th or maybe the 5th round. Probably the 5th. But 1-tech / O-tech is his role, or 0-tech. Plays more of a power interior role with the same thing we talked about before. Not the best pass rusher, but he's a great run defender. Give him the low-end pro comp of a Poona Ford. I do think he could be a solid throw him in backup, high-end backup type that Poona Ford was for several years, got some chances to start. Or a very high-end comp for him is Vita Vea. And I'm talking about the Vita Vea that maybe more in recent years has kind of fallen off a little bit, but is still a solid interior pass rusher. I'm not talking about prime 90 overall type of Vita Vea, balling out for the Tampa Bay Bucks, pushing them to be able to get to the Super Bowl Vita Vea. I'm talking a solid interior pass rusher who has the ability to kill on run defense, is a fine pass rusher, and uses size to his advantage. That's basically what Vita Vea was coming out of Washington. And then he's been incredible. I mean, if Dominique Orange can get anywhere on that level, then the Vikings got themselves a steal. But I do project him more on like the low end of a Vita Vea type of comp. But yeah, that is his high-end comp. The D plus speed, you'll see a lot of the guys in this class not too fast. He is 325 pounds, so that's kind of what you expect. C for the excel, D plus for the agility, and A for the strength as well. So, and if he is that big, then you do expect the strength to be pretty damn good itself. So having that A grade there is very nice. With the C plus pass rushing, C get off, A minus power moveset, very nice power moveset, and then the D finesse moveset. Obviously, if he's not pass rushing that well, he's not going to be able to finesse that well. He's a bigger guy, so it's kind of what you end up expecting, but still decently well-rounded with some things that can be worked on, some things that can't, like the athletic tools. But he is high-end when it comes to the rushing skills and the defending the run overall. Like, I think if you combine those together, that is a solid player that you're getting at, outside of the finesse moveset, that is. But he's not really a finesse pass rusher, so that would be a very specific skill set. And he is more of a high-end kind of, like, I don't know, just, yeah, I guess, yeah, power interior, who's like just a bigger guy who's able to take on runs and able to collapse in on runs. He's not twitchy. He's not like gonna be pass rushing all day. They probably end up double teaming him on certain downs. He's just a big dude that can get through though. Take on ability is an A minus. Penetration C plus can be worked on. A for an anchor and A minus for the run defense. So. Very traitsy guy with a bit more of a low floor than you're used to for several of these guys. I mean, 68 isn't bad, but he's got a fine ceiling with the 84 overall. And like I said, I do project him somewhere more being probably closer to that Poona Ford comp, but he could be somewhere in the middle. He could possibly get closer to the Vita Vea comp, or he could just suck. I don't know. Poona Ford, he could end up being even worse than that. But I do kind of project him more to be on that low end of the comp. He would have to work on several things to be able to really be a dominant type of Vita Vea type of pass rusher, so not really counting on that. Although I still liked watching his film and was a bit more of a fan of him than when I went into things. So he does look like a decent player. Let's hope the traits pan out. Let's see how the Vikings develop both him and Banks. They could have a nice duo on their hands as Banks. That's 2 top 10 IDLs for me in this class that the Vikings picked up, so that's very nice for them. As we get to my number 7B, just talked with a supervisor at work, very high-end supervisor, and apparently, you know, I was real nervous to talk to this guy. Apparently, he's a Florida State fan, and it was actually really good talking to him, shooting the shit back and forth. And it reminded me about Daryl Jackson when we were talking, because he was saying, asking me what sports I was into, telling him I was into mostly NFL stuff, college football, I mean, baseball, basketball is cool as well, but mostly into that stuff. And then he was saying how he was a Florida State fan and more of a Miami guy personally, but then it got me thinking about Daryl Jackson, and man, this guy, I put him pretty high up on my board. I do think, where did he end up getting picked? Why do I want to say Minnesota grabbed him too, but I don't believe they did. Somebody else ended up grabbing him, but he looks like a very high upside, very interesting player. I really do like the upside that a player like Daryl Jackson Jr. fits. 6'5", 315, so he's taller, which allows that 315 to be a bit more slimmed down. 34-inch arms, 22 years old, 4 years of experience, formerly played at Miami, so sticks around with the Florida schools. Has probably lived in the Florida area his whole life. I'm not 100% sure on that. But rounds 4 to 5 is when I projected him to get drafted. I do believe he was around round 5. He could have been 4. He could have been maybe closer to round 6. I'm not sure, but I did project him a little bit earlier than some people saw. 1-tech/3-tech hybrid, and he's mostly a traits-based prospect with a well-rounded overall profile, though. I really do like this, especially when you take into account the height, weight, arm profile. Starting off with like a lower impact grade, but a very nice high potential grade of where he could end up being with the 85. C+ for the speed. I did expect a little bit more speed out of him for being kind of a slim down pass rusher, but he is still 315 pounds, so it's not like he's small. B for the excel, C for the agility, and A- for the strength. Really, really nice, because you see some of these bigger, lankier guys sometimes and they can't win, but the fact that he is a little slower allows him to be stronger. If you're not good at both of those, then you may not succeed in the NFL. If you're good at least one, then at least you can have that as something that you can use to your advantage. But the rushing skills, B- for the pass rushing. He's one of the better pass rushing defensive linemen in this class, the B- get off. B for the power moveset, very nice. Kind of ties in with the strength there. Finesse moveset, C- can be worked on, that's fine. B+ for the take on ability, B- for the penetration, B for the anchor, and B for the run defense. So overall, just looking at all these things, athletic tools, rushing skills, defending the run, you see Darrell Jackson, very much a well-rounded player. And I start him off with a bit of a lower impact grade, as he didn't see too much time starting at Florida State. He played a season or two during the time Jared Verse was there, and then there were several other pass rushers that kind of intrigued NFL scouts, and he kind of worked his way up that board until he was really a starting guy and got his chance to show everybody what he had, and I think what he had was really fun. And if you're drafting him, I mean, you could draft him based off the profile alone, but traits allow this guy to only get better. He is 22 years old, so a little bit older than some of the guys in this class, but still young. And whatever team ended up taking him, who I'm still not sure of, they're getting closer to that Dalvin Tomlinson level of high upside that I put on the pro comp there. Taven Bryan as the lower end. I more see the Dalvin Tomlinson. I more see somewhere in between for Darrell Jackson, or Darrell. Yeah, Darrell Jackson. But still, a very fun and intriguing prospect who I didn't even really know about until I got into stuff, looking at grades, looking at tape, looking at everything on him. Very, very fun player, and very excited to see. I'm still not sure what team he went to, but I will find out. And yeah, that gets us to our next player, and that is my number 7A, who has a tied rank with Darrell Jackson. And I actually thought it was going to be a lot higher on Lee Hunter. I really liked him. I liked his teammate David Bailey and Jacob Rodriguez. And Cole Wisnowski went to the Eagles, the safety. So I like that Texas A&M defense, or just the Texas Tech defense, not Texas A&M. But yeah, Lee Hunter, I ended up having him tied with my boy back there, Darrell Jackson Jr. Rounds 4 to 5 for the value. I did like him a good bit better. 6'4", 230, 33 length inch arms. He's a little bit older. I like the size profile on everything, and the age on Darrell Jackson a little bit better. So, but then if you're talking about outside of that, already the height, weight, arm profile, that is good. 23 years of experience, so he's a little bit older, but he played most of his seasons at UCF before transferring to Texas Tech to play on that awesome defense they had. But if you're looking at the profile overall, he is also a very traits-heavy type of guy with more or less, like, he's got no pass rushing skills, but he's a great run defender. So with Darrell Jackson, you're kind of getting a little bit of both, which is why I really liked him. But with Lee Hunter, you're mostly just getting run defense. You're getting very nice strength, fine speed, and not too much of an ability to pass rush. This is kind of like where I was at with Akeem Messidor. I went in thinking I was going to end up liking him a bit more, and then I was like, holy shit, this dude was born when 9/11 happened. And I was like, he's like 24. By the end of his rookie deal, he'll be like 29 years old. By the end of Lee Hunter's rookie deal, he'll be like, he was drafted to the Panthers, by the way. He'll be like 27, 28 years old. Like, that's crazy. Most of these rookies should be getting off their deal and be like 25, 26 years old. But being that old, like, dude, you are definitely taking a chance. I mean, he's still only 23. Like, it's not like he's old, but I'm just saying you're taking a bit more of a chance on a riskier player, and you're basing things off traits that haven't happened yet. So, but I do think for the roles that he can play as the nose/1 tech, especially in the nose, he'll be a great nose tackle, and set him right alongside there with Derek Brown. Have him learn from Derek Brown. two somewhat similar players. I give him the pro comp of Kenny Clark Light. At the same time, I do think the Panthers ended up taking risks. They took him decently high, but like I said, if he learns alongside Derek Brown, he should be in good shape. And I think they did add a nice piece to that defense because I think he'll play a nice rotational role. If they want to get him in there, if they want to get other guys in there, he can play the one tech. And just overall, a player, he still has a very nice upside with the 86 overall potential grade, a fine floor, but not that higher upper echelon of player that you're kind of looking for. But I feel like that works perfectly fine for a number 2 in that defense especially. As we get to my number 5, and I really thought I would end up putting Lee Hunter above Grayson Holton, and then I watched some Grayson Holton film, and I was like, holy shit, Grayson Holton is a beast. Very much reminiscent of Grady Jarrett. A little bit smaller than Grady Jarrett at 6'2", 292 pounds, 31-inch arms, but still fine. I mean, this is a little bit below where you would really want, but I kind of took that weight profile into account and said, all right, kind of good tier. 22 years old, 4 years of experience, if I could speak. Projected in rounds 3 or 4. I think he went round 3. He could have gone round 4, but he did go to the 49ers. I think that's a great fit as well. And can play that 3-tech role for them. So he's going to be very nice. He's going to fit in with their first-round pick from last year, Michael Williams, nicely. And then he just kind of does everything great. And I wouldn't really look too much into the take-on ability or the finesse moveset. Look at everything else. And the strength can be worked on. That's something that should probably be a little bit better, but that can be worked on. B for the speed, pretty damn fast. A- excel, B+ agility. He plays faster than you would expect, kind of reminiscent of a Jordan Davis type, but with the size of almost like a Grady Jarrett or probably a little bit bigger. But yeah, he plays bigger than his actual size profile comes in at, which is pretty cool to see. And at the same time, he's fast. So I think that's why the 49ers really liked him. I think he's going to end up fitting into that defense pretty nicely. B- for pass rushing, some of the better pass rushing skills, surprisingly, in this class. A- for the get-off, C+ for the power moveset, C- for the finesse moveset. So overall rushing skills are meh. Defending the run, take-on abilities, C-. Penetration with the B+, a C for the anchor, and a C+ for the run defense. So if you're looking into this, it's still betting on a decent amount of traits, but I do think he's a decently well-rounded prospect with all of the chances in the world to be able to start at this point with a Niners defense that was ravaged throughout free agency and the draft period last year, and just many things going on with that squad. They're trying to kind of rebuild up the defense, have their new Javon Hargrave almost. Second time we mentioned him in this video, kind of funny. They bring in Michael Williams. They bring in Grayson Holton. They're really trying to revamp up that defense, so that's good. Trying to rebuild that squad there. Very high upside guy with a fine floor, and excited to see how that ends up transitioning to the NFL. I am more of a Grayson Holton fan than when I went in. As we get to the top 4, in the top 4, for me, at first, I could not decide where I wanted everyone to go, because these are 4 really good pass rushers, but we're going to start off with Caleb Banks. And Caleb Banks, the main thing, I forgot to put the symbol, but it is an injury question with him. Outside of that, Caleb Banks has all of the upside in the world to be an awesome starting defensive lineman. And albeit I did not like the Minnesota Vikings taking him in round 1, I did think with everything coming out with the injury, he should have probably been picked early round 2. And still, you had Pete Woods there, you had Christian Miller there. I think either of those guys, or even a Caden McDonald, would have fit a little bit better on that Minnesota team, especially with the age. 23 years old, 5 years of experience. All right, cool. He's played at Louisville. He's played at Florida. But at the same time, with a player like Caleb Banks, you're betting on a lot of traits here. So, you're betting on that size. That size profile is awesome. Gives him a solid floor. Gives him a great potential grade. But still, we need to see some stuff from him. With the injury, it kind of boosted some of his grades down. B+ for the strength makes sense. That checks out. Power moveset B makes sense. He's a fine run defender. He's fine. He's a bit of a below average pass rusher, I would say. And the athletic tools are it makes sense for his size. He's 325 pounds and 6'6", so with 34-inch arms. So overall, you look at a player like him, it's solid, but he's got a solid floor. He could end up tapering off and being closer to a Javon Kinlaw, which is the low-end comp I give him, but many people are talking about him getting closer to the ceiling of a Chris Jones, and that is talking maybe several years down. I do really see him somewhere in the middle. If he really doesn't pan out, yes, Javon Kinlaw, I don't really see him being as high upside as Chris Jones, but if the Vikings got that type of player, good for them. I do end up seeing him somewhere in the middle still, probably being closer to an 84, 85 type of solid starter for you for the next few years that can play the 3 tech, can play the 4-eye, play interior, play maybe even slims down a bit, play some edge for you, start getting his pass rushing skill and prowess up. But overall, I am a decent fan of Caleb Banks. He's just, I had to push him down because of the injuries and because of the overall profile that he had. So, but yeah, I still like him as a prospect. I like a whole lot of these guys. I like Grayson Halton. I like him. I like Darrell Jackson. Dante Corleone, big fan of him. I just have to kind of move these guys around. I wasn't sure where I was going to put them. I was going to have Christian Miller at 1. I changed things around. I was going to have Caden McDonald at 1. Changed things around. I was going to have Pete Woods as my 4th best. Pete Woods is a beast. Wait until you see some of the stuff on him. But this is our IDL. Number 3, defensive lineman Caden McDonald out of Ohio State. Only a 0.5 higher, and that is because of not having to worry about injuries. He is a younger player, 21 years old, went round 2 to the Houston Texans, who got themselves a steal. I do think he has a chance to be that level of DJ Reader. It's going to take some time and take some ability for him to work on the traits that he has already, but 6'3", 320 pounds, and 33-inch arms. That is exactly what you want to see out of a pass rusher. Very nice, very solid. He is not as much of a unit as a guy like Caleb Banks, but I think the profile itself works out more in his favor. C+ speed, B- excel, C+ agility, A strength. You'll take that for athletic tools. Plays a bit above his strength. Very nice to see that. Or plays above his size with the strength profile. C+ for the pass rushing. Not the best pass rusher, but he is able to get off the ball pretty quick. Able to use some nice power movesets, and the finesse movesets are fine. Take on ability gets an A- for me, with a C+ for the penetration, A for the anchor, and A- for the run defense. Really, you're drafting him to be a primary run defender, and I think he went to a awesome system to be able to play with DeMeco Ryans in Houston. Ended up staying in the draft room until day 2. Finally gets drafted, gets to go out and shake hands with the commissioner. I think it's a pretty awesome story, and I'm excited to see how Caden McDonald ends up doing. This was a guy I originally had as my number 1. Due to the combine, he did kind of fall off the board for me a little bit, but I still have some, a fine floor for him with the 73 overall and then 88 overall potential grade. So a very solid overall player. And I think if he takes his traits to the next level, DJ Reader is definitely, I'm talking DJ Reader playing primetime in Cincinnati. I could see that easily happening for Houston. Then they have Danielle Hunter, Willie Anderson, a very nice linebacker core, safeties. Very excited to see what happens in the future for Caden McDonald, and I'm a big fan of him. During his time at Ohio State, he looked very fun, very enticing to watch. As we get to my number 2, who fell all the way to the second round and was a steal for the Minnesota Vikings, once again bringing in Kenny Clark with the high-end upside. But let's get into some of his other things first. 6'4", 321 pounds with 33-inch arms. He is 21 years old, 3 years of experience, all at Georgia as far as I know. Very prototypical, maybe even above prototypical size for an interior pass rusher. Love to see it. And a very young player at the same time, being 21 years old. Very fun. One of the younger guys in the class. So, and projected in rounds 1 to 2, he went in round 2, like I said, to the Saints, who had an awesome draft. Can't wait to go through and grade that. Not the biggest fan of the Jordan Tyson pick. I still liked it, but a little bit risky there, but it should be fun to go through theirs. They took some risks. They took some chances on some interesting players, so I'm excited to check that out. 3 tech / 1 tech hybrid. Sorry, I'm probably running through this a little quick, but these are the roles that he could end up playing in that defense. I think he more plays the 3 tech as a hybrid. Kind of guy, who was the guy that they drafted several years ago out of Clemson, who I'm blanking on the name now. I always blank on the names. I'm thinking of Pete Woods now. I don't know, I'm totally blanking on the name, but I can think of his face. He's going to fit in very nicely on that Saints squad. Oh, it's so close. I hate it. It's always on the tip of my tongue. Nope, can't remember. But anyways, compare him more to the Braden Fisk low-end comp. But the Kenny Clark high-end upside is there. Braden Fisk's still not a bad player to have a pro comp to. It's just, I'm not saying his career trajectory is going to be the same. I'm just saying he has some of the same skill sets as a Fisk. Playing, especially in that rookie season for the Rams, was kind of a risk that they ended up taking, and he panned out very nicely for that defense, and he still kind of fits in there as a puzzle piece, like a missing puzzle piece that they were able to just click into place there. So, but I do project him to have more of the career that a Kenny Clark had, like probably start a little slow and then kind of reach that potential upside, play as a top 20, maybe a top 10 if we're stretching a little top 15 range maybe, nose tackle. But I like a lot of the profile we see. B for the speed, relatively fast, especially for his size. B plus excel, B minus agility, A minus strength. I think Christian Miller is one of the biggest players that people slept on throughout this draft process. I had him going as early as round 1 to the Los Angeles Chargers if they want an interior pass rush help. Because he's a great run defender, he's a great pass rusher, and he's a great overall athlete. And then look at the measurables. Fucking beast. If there wasn't this guy that's ahead of him right there, who I won't say who it is, but you'll see in a second, then he would easily be the number 1 of this class, and he would have gone probably in that first round. But instead it had my number 4 guy, Caleb Banks, going, and then my number 1 went, and then my number 3 went, and then my number 2 went. So, but I'm still higher than Christian Miller than a whole lot of guys in this class. So, just looking at everything, man, the take on ability, A minus, B plus penetration, A minus anchor, A minus run defense. This is literally everything you look in a starting defensive lineman. Christian Miller, awesome. Georgia, he stays at home in the South, but instead of playing in Georgia, heads down to Louisiana to play for the New Orleans Saints. Very excited to see how he ends up doing, and I'm a big fan of how the Saints have been rebuilding. First, they go in the trenches to get linemen, then they get a new impact wide receiver 2 to pair with Olave, and now they get a defensive lineman on the opposite side of the ball. Very fun, and yeah, I'm really excited. He has very high upside, a solid starting floor with a 70 overall, closer to Braden Fisk, and then the 93 overall potential grade for a guy like Christian Miller. Absolute beast. But then I was like, all right, who's the number 1 in this class? And I'm going through the rankings, and I'm like, all right, everybody else looks solid. And then I'm going through the grades, I'm like, holy shit, Pete Woods is way above them. I mean, if you're looking back and forth, a .25 difference in my number 2 and my number 1, that is pretty big. Probably one of the biggest gaps that I have in the class. 6'3", 315 pounds, 33-inch arms, prototypical size. There is not a single thing that I saw that Pete Woods does bad or poorly. He was just on a shitty squad, pretty much. Clemson had a down year, but I went back at some of the old tape. He is awesome. They just started double teaming and watching out for these 2 first-round projected guys that they had in T.J. Parker and Pete Woods, but still has all the upside in the world and already shows in his profile that he's a great player in and of itself. So, B plus for the speed, A minus for the excel, B plus for the agility, A minus for the strength. This is some of the fastest you'll see out of a 315-pound defensive lineman in this entire class. It's absolutely tremendous. It's amazing. He's like Christian Wilkins on steroids, dude. It's insane. I'm talking, when he was playing for the Dolphins, balling out in that defense. I'm not talking about Raiders Christian Wilkins here. But then we talk about the rushing skills. B plus for the pass rush. The pass rush mixed with the run defense for his size, man, that's fucking insane. It's genuinely, pardon my language, fucking insanity. It's awesome. And he was so fun to watch with the 7.65 overall grade. You can tell I liked him. A very nice overall floor, too, with the 80 overall and then a 95 overall potential grade. This guy is going to be right there with Chris Jones once he ends up retiring. Like, he's playing the 2 right now with them, closer to the 80, but he learns a little bit from Chris Jones, playing for the Chiefs now. And give him a little bit of time. This is a top interior pass rusher in the league. I'm a big fan of Pete Woods. His game, and excited to see. 21 years old, too, so he's young. He's got time to grow. It kind of sucks that he went to the Chiefs. They're not my favorite team in the world, but hey, they know how to draft talent, and they got 2 really talented players. They got my CB1, and they got my DT1 in the class, so they're getting some roses when we go through the draft grades. And they got R. Mason Thomas, a very underrated edge. But yeah, going through some of the other stuff, you see the run defense A minus, anchor A minus, B plus penetration. You just look at the board, man. Who else's board has been this well rounded at this high of a level? Literally, like, no one that I can think of, outside of maybe Jeremiah Love, and if we're talking about Mendoza's overall profile. So, but mostly, even going through offensive linemen, you know, they have some mostly things that they do good at, but then some things they struggle with. Or same thing with edge. Even the best edge rushers had some things that they struggle with, whether that's height, weight, arm profile, whether that's some type of pass rush skill, whether that's run defense or an athletic tool. Pete Woods is pretty damn great at everything, and I should have even put him in like top 15 range in draft value because the Chiefs got a steal at the end of round 1, picking him up. But yeah, guys, another video. I know this one was a little bit shorter as we kind of ran through all of these guys, but it was really fun to end up making these grades, and I hope you guys all enjoyed watching. This series has been one of my favorite ones to make this year, and I'm only going to continue scouting and checking out some of the prospects for next year's, and I think next year's draft is going to be even more exciting. So yeah, we just have the linebacker and safety rankings left, and that will be all. But yeah, I will end up seeing you guys all for the next one, whether that's a gaming video, whether that's the linebacker safety rankings, whether that's a way too early mock draft. I hope you guys all end up tuning in for that one. And until then, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.